Hey folks, Cozzy here, drafting for Pick 1, Pack 1. Pretty exciting times. We had our 5th subscriber to the YouTube channel, so thank you to whoever joined, increasing our subscription level by 20%. Early days, I know, slightly facetious, but you know, still exciting. Let's get into the draft though, rather than me being a smartass. So, to start off with, we have a Direward Beastcaller, great infiltrate creature. If you can ever give him unblockable and get him through, then it's Value Town. Smuggler's Stash is a great card if you can build around it. Amethyst Monument is probably the second best monument I think you can get in Limited. And then an Awakened Student is the other card that would tempt me if this wasn't Pick 1, Pack 1. As in the first pick of my draft rather than the name of the channel. I think I want to go with what has the biggest upside, and a Direward Beastcaller, if you can ever get him in, definitely I think is the best value and is on a mono color. This looks as though it might become an infiltrate deck, looking at the fact that we have Cabal Recruiter, another very powerful creature if you can get it in. These are the kind of cards that make me think that I'm hoping to either get into Stonescar with some kind of Overwhelm support, or looking at getting into a Film aggressive deck. If we see the Cloak that gives them unblockable, then we are absolutely laughing. But for now, I think we'll take the Recruiter and be happy. Life Drinker, great shadow weapon as well. I just want to quickly double check if there's anything else. Not really much else in the pack. Sky Snapper's reasonable. Warhelm is okay. Devour has a role to play. But no, I think the Life Drinker is the easy choice here, and I've had a relatively simple draft so far. This is the first, I think, proper decision I've had to make. We can either look at the Scorpion Wasp, which is a great card. It's hard to understate just how useful this card is. It's effectively straight removal, because if you can block and they don't have any way of engaging with it, so no fast removal of their own, this card will either remove their fast removal, which is one of the best cards from their deck, or remove whichever creature you want to block with on the proviso that they don't have quick draw. So, okay, sure. Not entirely unconditional removal, but given that in Eternal, almost every piece of removal has some kind of condition on it, then this is just about as good as you get. And particularly so being in time, when you're playing Combrei, it's removal in general. This being said, I can stay on color and have something that is of relative parity for the power, so I think we'll take our Execute and be pretty happy. This was the item that I was talking about, the Trickster's Cloak, going into a Feln aggressive deck. I don't think there's a huge opportunity cost for taking it. I could grab the crowd favorite and look at going into some kind of Stonescar weapon deck, but yeah, look, let's see if we can get this Feln aggro happening. We've seen 2 Sky Snappers go through, which means that we could be seeing that this is open. I look forward to seeing how this develops, and there is good support for this color combination. Tinker Apprentice, not really. Healer's Cloak is okay if we're going defensive. I think the Stranger is probably the most tempting. Renegade Valkyrie is definitely the most powerful card in this pack, but we're not looking at those colors at all. So we'll take this and see if we have the opportunity to splash. And what will also help me do is fix up my blue if I need it. Not a lot for us here, not a lot at all. So after some early strong picks, it's dried up, which could mean that we have a Shadow Picker or 2 on our right-hand side. Out of these, I think the card that I'm most likely to have a chance of playing is maybe the Heavy Axe. If we do go back to Stonescar, none of the rest of these I can actually envision playing at all. We have a choice between the Devour and the Fixing. Devour is a useful card, so I think we'll take it and be happy. And if we are going into Feln, then the Jotun Warrior I think is more tempting than the Granadon. Herald's Song is card selection, so we'll take it and be happy. Neither of these are amazing, but this is the most problematic one against us. And yeah, I feel as though this is a relatively solid start. We'll move over the extra colors that we're not super tempted by. And look at what our options are. If we're going Feln aggro, Twilight Raptor is phenomenal. It's rare that you can play it on the first turn because color fixing is even harder to find in Limited than it is Constructed, but if you're looking at a turn 2 play for a 2/2 flyer, you're not complaining. If you have 2 of these in your hand and you can play 2 of them, you're definitely not complaining. And also it means that on every future turn, the real goal of Limited is to try and saturate your power as much as possible. You want to use it as efficiently and as regularly as possible. And this means that on turn 4 I can play a 3 and a 1 drop, which is a luxury that not a lot of decks have. There are some other powerful cards in general, but nah, I think we're taking the Raptor and locking in. We have a choice here. Wow, very nice card if we were to look in that direction, but I think we want to... Well, how good is the fire cards? No, we haven't really received anything too exciting. We have a choice here then between the Gorgon Swiftblade and the Windshaper. I think this is really a question of whether we think we're likely to be going to the skies. It's worth noting that one form of evasion that we would like for these infiltrate creatures is also levitate, which does give them flying, but it's a temporary bonus in this regard. Or if we happen to get the Acolyte for blue, then that can give them a permanent form of flying. But I think Gorgon Swiftblade is just too efficient a creature to pass up here, especially in this build. We have another Devour. I think out of these, so we're not seeing a lot of love, but then again, these are looking very heavy in these colors. It doesn't look as though too many picks have been taken. Devour's the kind of card that I'm happy to have 1 of. I don't really want 2, especially as I'm not playing tokens, so I think we'll just take the fixing. And now we have a choice between some slightly underwhelming cards and a Stone Scar. I think Stone Scar is the answer. If we were to be looking at playing the red purple, then this is the perfect card for us. You have your infiltrate creatures just sitting around doing not much, then he rocks up and they all do 1 damage each, and you're laughing because you trigger them all simultaneously. Yeah, not a lot of love. And it could just be because the packs aren't there. Yeah, see, getting it, cards like these late is really interesting. Let's stay on the aggressive theme with the Desperado. Wisdom of the Elders is a great card, but if I can get this in, then I'm effectively getting a piece of removal as well. And out of these, I'm not a massive fan of the Venom Fang Dagger. It forces me to 2-for-1 myself in most instances. Herald Song is something I can envision having a maximum of 2 of in my deck. And I do like getting the Acolyte. It's a very late stash to be going through. I could consider picking it up and splashing. And the advantage of this is infiltrate units have a 1-shot ability. They do it the first time they hit. If they die and I can return them, then I have the opportunity to do it again. Otherwise, how good is the Lurking Sanguar? It has terrible defensive stats. I'm not too likely to be getting 2 creatures in at once, but it is on color. It is life gain if I get myself into trouble. If I get things like Twilight Raptors, this could be phenomenal. It could be a turn 2, play 2 Twilight Raptors, or play a second after my 1-drop and drop this in, and that will be a very strong board swing. And if I'm seeing one of these this late, it means that the people to my left definitely aren't in Stone Scar, so perhaps I'll see another. Yeah, let's give this a shot. I'm happy to speculate and see if we get paid. Pilfer is an absolutely rubbish card, so Magma Javelin is the only playable out of these. Ooh, okay. I'm getting a little bit excited at this. Elysian Trailblazer is a good card. Giving your top spell Echo is great. Trix's Cloak is exactly what we want for this archetype, but this guy comes with the entire package. He flies, he charges, so he's evasive and he's fast, and he gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger until your opponent's dead. And if we manage to get a Dark Return so that we can bring him back, this guy basically wins you the game unless your opponent has quick removal, and if they don't, then there's not much hope for them. Premium removal, as I was saying before, there's not many cards in the game that just remove a creature. This is it, so I'm very happy to have it in my deck. Mirror Image could be interesting. It's normally for slower. It's interesting to note we could have had a pair of Rakano Outlaws, which makes me a little sad because that's probably the best 2-drop in the format. Rakano Stranger could allow us to splash, so I think these are my two realistic choices. If I'm able to drop one of these... So the problem with Mirror Image is that it's conditional. If I don't have a unit on the table, then this card is one that's just going to sit in my hand and do stone cold nothing. If, however, I can get to a turn 6 or something where I give my creature one of these abilities like Unblockable and then play this on, I'm pretty sure it copies that ability as well. So it could have some upside. We'll take a look. Wow! This is phenomenal. So I think we definitely just want to make the most of these colours being open on my right. Permafrost is the other amazing piece of removal. Haunting Scream is exactly what we want for this archetype. But I feel as though this archetype works just as well. Let's say I drop a Desperado, they play their one blocker and I Permafrost it. It's the same as Haunting Scream and getting in. Now we have a choice here between a Pinger and a Combat Trick. What I mean by a Pinger is this guy will just tap every turn to do 1 damage. It's useful in a couple of scenarios. It can be just the final 2 or 3 points of damage at the end of your clock to finish them off. It can kill X1s, so things like your Acolytes, it just kills them and gets straight up value. And it can also be used as a combat trick. What I mean by that is, let's say I have a 3-3 and my opponent has a 3-4 or even better a 2-4. And I attack in with my 3-3 and they think they're safe because they have the extra point of health. Then after that attack in the second main phase, I can drop this guy and ping it for that final point of damage, and in effect this has been a piece of hard removal that can do it again and again. Yeah, okay, I've talked myself in. I think I'd rather have the second Trickster's Cloak in this scenario regardless, but that's a little funny. We could have had a bit of diversity here. And now we have the choice between the Evasive Fast Threat or the Rapid Shot. I think this isn't a deck that needs combat tricks per se. No, we want to be hitting face, we want to be getting in. Neither of these are super exciting, but because I have Devour, I think I'll take the Dark Wisp. I don't think it's likely I'm going to be playing it. And we'll just take this speculatively to see if we happen to get more, a greater ability to splash into time. If we can, and let's say for argument's sake, we happen to have a Recurring Nightmare in our hand, and this starts doubling already at 2. That's about as close to game over as you can get. Wow, that's a very late Minotaur Grunt. Let's just quickly clean this up again. So we're not going to be playing the Minotaur Grunt at all. Recurring Nightmare, we're certainly playing Cloaks. Blazing Renegade can get out of here. As can Arachnodon. We're definitely getting fed, and that's great. We're just getting tough choices. These are great cards for other people, but not for me. Deranged Dynamancer means that if I can get creatures down early, they can get upgraded. It's a risk. It can turn your opponent's units into Carnosaurs, although funnily enough, in the videos that I've played it, they've had 100% rate. We could have more removal, we could have the splashing. Look, I haven't had a chance to play with it, and it will be fun to have on stream. Next up we have Removal, Trickster's Cloak, or Jotun Hurler. We're trying to play this aggressive, we're trying to get our guys in, so I am very tempted by the Trickster's Cloak. It's interesting to note that a Torch is coming through. Yeah, okay, let's stay on theme. And I think out of these, I'd rather just take the Twilight Raptor. Oblivion Spike is an effective piece of removal, but given the fact that we're even contemplating the Lurking Sanguar, yeah, let's stay on plan. And more interesting choices. This could give us a little bit of life. He's a problem if I'm able to get him up to a 5/5 thanks to my, wherever it is, the Cloaks, Trickster's Cloak. Otherwise I could just take the Fixing. And the Fixing is important because if I want to splash this Twinning Ritual, then I want to make sure I can cast all my other spells on curve. We do have 2 instances of double blue as well as a double purple, as well as the need to make sure that oftentimes early we need to have both of our colours. How close am I to a quality deck already? So I have 3, 4, 5, 6. Call that 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 12, 13, 14, 17, 18, 19, 20, 1, 2, 4, 5. So pretty close to a full deck already. Yeah, I think I want to make sure that I can cast my good cards when I want to cast them. Choice between the Spider and the Hurler. The Hurler is a very good card that gives a lot of value. And if we're after infiltrates, then I'm happy to see a Ranger. I was getting a little bit nervous not seeing it. I think the Violet Gust is worth taking here. We're hoping to get our creatures, some of them flying, particularly the Recurring Nightmare. And the card selection's great when we have so many solid cards. Wow, that's really late, but I'm not complaining. I don't think it's likely that that Herald will make the cut. So yeah, this looks pretty sweet. I'm quite excited by it. I feel as though we have a pretty solid deck, a little bit expensive. Let's call this 18 sigils for the time being, and I think we have one banner and a diplomatic seal. So that's 16. Let's just call it 8 each, just for quickly messing around with this list. No other cards here that I want to consider. So we have 56 out of 45. We need to lose 11 cards, and we have a pretty aggressive curve by the looks of this. We go straight up to the 3s and then drop off pretty fast. Out of these, the cards that I could consider cutting, the slow guys at the top that don't impress me much. Are they both of the 6 drops that I saw? Alright, we can afford to go down 1. I don't think the splash is interesting here. We just didn't get enough fixing to support it. I know that currently we have 2 pieces, both through the Elysian Stranger and through the seal, but the seal is conditional. It only helps me if it comes down early, and early I'm probably going to be more concerned about playing my cards on curve. So I think we drop that one. The Lurking Sangua, I think, has a very high ceiling. Like, I can imagine games where I drop these both on turn 2, and then turn 3 I attack in for 4, drop this guy, and it's game over. But I can also imagine some games where he does absolutely nothing for me because they have a 2-2. So I think he's going to get the cut. And I think I don't want 2 Jotun Warriors. They're much more of a defensive card, so I probably don't want them to be sitting around holding up the ground. I'd rather be attacking in and being proactive. Hurler is good. Caller is okay. Magus, I'm happy. Deranged, Deathstrike, these are great. There could be an argument made that I only want 2 cloaks, that 3 is too many. It really depends on how many spells and units I have. Sky Snapper Scheme is great when I have bombs, such as the Recurring Nightmare. Mirror Image is probably too greedy, so that's on the short list. These I'm happy with. Gust. Second Sight is card selection, and if we keep the Herald Song, it can get some value. I don't think I want 2 Herald Songs. If we had Ravenous Thornbeasts, I think the Dark Wisp would be more tempting, but as we don't, I think we'll get rid of it. A 2-mana 1-1, even though it replaces itself, is still a 1-1, which means it can get invalidated very easily. And so we're needing to cut 3 cards here, and we're probably wanting to cut a couple in the 3 drops because we look very heavy there. So if that's the case, I think the Mirror Image is gone. That's too greedy. And I think we might shave 1 Trickster's Cloak. And then I'm probably looking at ditching the other Warrior. Am I just going all in and just trusting my fast guys to get the job done? I think so. And if that's the case, I have a fair few 4 drops, so I don't think I want to go down to 16. Now the other thing I need to consider is I have a slight imbalance between my sigil allocation, and it looks, according to this influence breakdown, that I'm spot on 50-50. out of the cards I have here, so the Raptors want me to be able to play both. So I want to keep it very close. I do have one extra primal here. And my most proactive plays are based with Shadow. So I think we'll just shift the balance a little bit that way. I'll tell you what, this is looking sweet. We have some phenomenal removal. Like, we have two of the best pieces of removal in the game. We have a definite plan of some infiltrate units coupled with a cloak to give them evasion, or the removal to remove our opponents. We have a bomb in Recurring Nightmare. We have a very difficult card to deal with in Gorgon Swiftblade, and a couple of nice cards at the top. I really look forward to seeing this one play out. Yeah, it's been nice to finally have a chance to play a Feln aggro deck. I played quite a few and enjoyed them quite a bit before starting this video series, and then they were just never really open for me, which is a shame because I quite enjoy this. It would have been nice to have that one copy of Haunted Scream, or if we could have had one copy of Dread Return, but you know, it's the nature of draft. You've got to work with what you've got and what you've been given, and I feel as though we've done an okay job, so I look forward to going to these matches. Thanks for watching so far. I've been Cozzy, drafting for Pick 1 Pack 1, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Have a good one.